since you were ready first, Tim, I'm going to call on you first. I just want to give everybody a chance to see what they can figure out. So what'd you figure out?
The sentences in black, they use and, but, and. And it's one of the 7 words to use when you use a comma.
Yeah.
And the sentences in red, if they do use and, but, and, or but, they don't have the comma.
They don't have a comma.
And the other ones, they don't use any of the words to use after a comma.
They have a comma, but not the and or a but.
Yeah.
And what are the 7 little words? Do you remember?
And, but, or, for, so, yet, nor.
Yeah, very good. You have them on a card down there? All right. All right. So, everybody agree with Tim? Yeah. Yep. So, if you are going to use an and, you have to use a comma with it. And you can't use the and without the comma, and you can't use the comma without the and. What if you use the comma without the and? What do you have?
Comma splice.
A comma splice. Okay, folks. You can hold that. You can aim it at me if you want to. Here comes another set of data. Thank you. Study these, and when you're ready to tell me what else you learned from these, let me know. Tim, what did you say the rule was before? If you use an and, you have to use a comma, right?
Yes.
And you want to change your mind about the rule? Again, on these, black is correct and red is incorrect. What are you puzzling over in these?
It's that the sentences in black, they use and, but they don't have a comma.
They have a comma. They have an and with no comma, and it's correct. And with the comma and the and, it's wrong. Okay. Now, folks, that is true. What the data on these cards is all accurate. The sentence Peter discussed punctuation rules and gave us some 3x5 cards to study with no comma is correct. And the sentence Tom lives in Overley, comma and his brother lives in Parkville is correct.
It's like
What?
Is that a true statement?
Tom, do you live in Overley?
No.
Do you have a brother?
He's 3.
Does he live in Parkville?
No, he lives in Pittsburgh.
No, it's not true. So if sentences are not true, then you put a comma in. No, that's not. So what are you figuring out as a rule here? Let me give everybody study them a little bit. What's the difference between the sentences on the first card I gave you and the sentences on the second card? Okay, I'm going to call on you, Tom. Hang on just a minute. I'll give everybody a chance. I'm going to call on Tom, but I'd just like to check in. Do you know, Taisha? Have you figured it out? You think you know? Do you know?
I don't think so.
All right. You're lost?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. But instead of having Tom give the answer, let me give you all a little more help, a little more hint to see if you can get to it. What you want to try to figure out is what's the difference between the sentences on card. Notice they have a 1 and a 2 on card number 1, where it's correct to put the comma with the and or the but, and in card number 2, what it's incorrect if you put the comma in. What's the difference between those sentences?
It's like.
Wait! I promised Tom he was going to get to answer this. Tom, go ahead.
I think if you're talking about like the same subject, you don't need a.
Give me an example of what you mean by a subject.
Okay, so for the first one, Peter is the main subject. In the second part, Peter is also giving us.
Okay, that's really interesting. I didn't even realize that, and that's correct. What you said is correct. It's not the way I would have said it. How were you going to say it? Are you ready to say it, Taisha?
Well, the first card, it combines 2 sentences, while the second one just expresses like one complete thought.
So what do you mean by the first one combines 2 sentences?
Like Tom lives in Overley, can be one sentence.
That could be a sentence.
His brother lives in Parkville.
That's a sentence. Or an independent clause, if we just to use the technical term. It would you could put it on the blank line on the what's the test phrase? They refused.
They refuse to believe.
They refused to believe the idea that Tom lives in Overley. Yes, that's a sentence. They refuse to believe the idea that his brother lives in Parkville. That's a sentence. Or an independent clause. And so, therefore, you have to put a comma with the and. And Taisha, way to go. Now, how about in the second card? They refuse to believe the idea that Peter discussed punctuation rules. Independent clause?
Yes.
Yes. They refuse to believe the idea that gave us some 3x5 cards to study. No. Taisha, wonderful. I have you on tape doing that. You see the difference? Yeah. So the difference is whether you have two independent clauses. Now, it's also true that that what you said about the same subject, the reason gave us some 3x5 cards to study is not an independent clause because it doesn't have a subject. Why not? Because the subject is Peter way back at the beginning of the sentence. So that's just a different way of analyzing it. But the easy way to do it is to say, when you have two independent clauses, and you're joining them with an and, or a but, or what else? Nor. What else? Yet. You can look down.
For.
Or, for, so, or yet. Yeah, and, but, or, for, so, or yet. When you're joining them with any of the 7 little words, or some of you call them the fanboys, and they're two independent clauses, you have to put a comma in. And if they're not two independent clauses, and you put the comma in, it's wrong. So you only put a comma with an and when it's joining two independent clauses.